Hello, listeners. My name is Charles Scott, and here we are again this fine weekend. The name of the program is called Can We Talk, and I'm here with Charles Scott Jr.
Junior, how you guys doing today? Welcome to a new episode. And like I always tell people to tune in, remember to go online, look at our previous episodes. We have a lot of knowledge to give out today.
Well, one of the things that we were discussing earlier was what should we get out there that people really need to know about. In the past, we've been talking about interest rates, about buying a property, and there's two major things that, really, I'd say concern everybody. One is income, and the other is credit.
Yes.
Well, we've given you in the past some ideas about how to increase your income and what you need to do as far as starting a business or either getting a second job. Unfortunately, when you're buying a house, if you increase your income or you get an additional job, you have to be there for a while before it can actually affect the mortgage.
2 years to be exact.
2 years. And what happens is that if you are, let's say, making, say, $30,000 a year, and you go out and now all of a sudden you're making $40,000 a year, what'll happen is that they won't use that additional income unless you've been there for a while, because they're concerned about, okay, so now you're making more money, you're getting a lot of overtime, but what happens if the company starts downsizing?
Yes, exactly.
What happens, if you buy that house and all of a sudden that mortgage payment comes in every single month at the same amount, but you don't have the same amount of money coming in?
All I wanted to say is also, remember, people may not realize that if you get, I'll say, consistent overtime, and it's in your paycheck every week, and you have a track record of over, I'll say, 2 years, you can apply that to your mortgage. People can say, okay, I may make $30,000 base salary, but with the overtime, I'll bump up to $45,000. Make sure you tell your mortgage person that, or your local bank that, when you want to apply for a mortgage.
So like I said, there's not too much we can do about your income, except maybe encourage you to make more income. But one of the things that we can help you with is credit.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that you can do that will directly and immediately affect purchasing a property. So today we're going to talk a little bit about credit, some of the things that you can do to increase that credit score. So maybe, you might want to start off, give them some tips, and, I'll tune in and we'll go from there.
Yeah. One thing I would say first, get your credit report. What I would say is go to annualcreditreport.com. Go there first and get your credit report and see what's on there. Now, that website won't give you exact scores, but it will give you what's on there as far as there's any delinquencies or anything like that. Because you may say, wait a minute, I've never had a subscription to this company. Why are they coming after me for money? Not realizing your name is very similar to other people's names. What if they put that in your credit report by mistake? So that's the first step. You want to get your credit report, make sure there's everything on there is accurate. You may see things that you never paid for on there and say, this isn't my credit. So you want to make sure that you look in there. And what will be the next step? I would say they do find a discrepancy on the report.
Well, first of all, get the names and also the addresses of all of the credit bureaus. And most of them, if you go online, they have dispute forms.
Yes.
You can do it either online or even you can call in and dispute the different items, because as my son said, get a copy of your credit report. There's different ways you can do that. You can call them on the phone and they'll take some information from you. You can write to them, or you can actually go online and request it from the 3 credit bureaus.
Now, well, not to interrupt you, but I want to tell people this, especially people in my generation, remember, Credit Karma, they're a marketing company. People, I know a friend of mine, they thought their credit score was a certain amount. They went to the bank, looks like it was about 60 points lower, because remember, Credit Karma kind of inflates it a little bit because they want to sell you other products related to credit management. So remember, when you want to get your real score, you want to go to these actual websites, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. You want to get your report right from the source.
Also realize that banks do not use Credit Karma.
No.
Credit Karma is not used by the bank.
Credit
Karma might make your score look higher because they want to sell you stuff on the side.
Exactly.
So whatever you do, don't go by that.
No.
Once you get the copies of your credit report, the first thing you do is, as my son said, review the credit report. And review I would say one of the most important things also is your addresses. Believe it or not, people move all over the place, and they got one address here, one address there. Just the mere fact that you put down the correct address and erase all of those other addresses, that can increase your score, because you're confusing the computer when it makes it look like you're unstable.
Right.
Say, this person's moving all over the place.
Exactly.
You know, if we loan them money and we have to go look for this person, where do we look? Is it here? Is it there? Which address? Or does he live here? So remember, with credit, you want to make everything look as stable as possible.
Exactly. Also, remember, when you're shopping for these cars or going to look for furniture, do a lot of research before you apply for their financing, because remember, you have to see if their inquiry is going to be what they call a hard inquiry. And when that happens, the credit bureaus know you're looking to get some credit, and what they do, they might lower your score because they're saying, why don't you have the cash saved up? Why are you looking for financing for this furniture? Why are you looking for financing for this car? So when looking for items, make sure you ask these people before they run your credit, is this a hard inquiry or what they call a soft inquiry, which will not be as damaging as a hard inquiry? Now,
recently, the both of us, we went to a seminar, and one of the speakers there had to do with credit.
Yes.
And it was an individual who specializes in credit. And I gained a lot of knowledge from that seminar.
Very knowledgeable.
One of the main things is that they're changing the way credit is reported.
Oh, yes.
So there's going to be, and I guess they've already started on ways and different models that they're looking at to make it more inclusive and also to make it easier for you to read and get a copy of your credit report.
And it's going to be making it easier for people to get credit. For example, people may say to you or come to us a lot saying, well, I pay my Netflix subscription every month. I pay my car payment every month, or I pay this every month. My electric bill, why isn't this utilized? What they're doing is they're making credit more, I'll say more informative, more expansive. There's different generations of credit reporting. And as we progress into next year, they're going to start factoring some of these things in, because it does show responsibility that you're paying this every month and you're not missing a payment. Why not factor that into your FICO score?
The other thing is that in the past, I've always heard that the biggest deterrent to higher scores has always been medical bills.
Oh, yes.
Medical bills have always been a drain on individuals' credit report. One of the new things I guess they're doing is that up to $500, if you owe up to $500, they're not including that on your credit report.
It's about 500 and below, right?
500 and below. So if you owe a doctor bill and it's $200 or $300 or whatever it may be, they're looking to revise all of those medical bills and get those medical bills off your credit report and not report them for even up to a certain amount of time. Even if it's more than that, I think you said like up to 6 months.
I think so.
You have an opportunity to dispute the bill before it actually goes on your credit.
Exactly.
So that's a good thing, because in the past, I understood that most of bankruptcies were created because of medical bills. You can have an accident, go into the hospital, and end up with a $20,000 bill.
More than that.
I'm being conservative,
right?
Especially if you fall off a ladder, you got to go to the ambulance.
Exactly.
That could be $5,000 by the time they do the tests, the checkups, and this. By the time you walk out of there with a couple of Band-Aids on, you owe $20,000.
Exactly. Also, I wanted to also speak to people in my generation. We're seeing credit, student loans. Student loans are a big factor to your credit we're seeing now. But what you want to do is, if you're going to apply for a mortgage or anything else, make sure you contact the student loans and see what you have to do. Get a payment going. Don't just ignore them, or get a forbearance so you have some time to build up the income so you can start paying those back. Because remember, you have to tell your mortgage broker or your bank everything that you owe. They're going to see those student loans on your report when they run it.
And the other thing, too, is that let's first of all get to the root of it. Don't even get those medical bills put on your credit.
Yes.
In most cases, a lot of times it's because of deductibles that are covered by insurance that you never put the claim into the insurance company to get the deductibles paid. So what happens is that a lot of times people get forms, and the forms sit there and people do not fill out the forms properly, or you'll send the forms back in. The bill does not get paid. Since it does not get paid, they give it to the collection agency. And that collection agency now has that bill that maybe the medical bill, and the smaller bills hurt you more than the bigger bills.
Yes, very true.
You might be something as small as $50. So if you go to the dentist or you go to the doctor and you got a $500 bill and maybe you have a copay of, let's say, $50. Now all of a sudden you didn't pay that $50. So by you not paying that $50, now that gets put onto your credit report. So the best thing to do is to make sure you fill the forms out, get that $50 paid so that it does not go on your credit report.
And also I wanted to mention, remember, some of these credit cards have annual fees. Some people may think,
tell them a story.
I'll say, some people may think that you pay it down to zero. I can ignore this card. I'm not spending it. I'm putting it in the closet for emergencies. But remember, that card may have a $40 fee every year. And if you don't have, if you don't pay that, it becomes debt on the card. You have a negative 40 balance. And if you ignore it, they're going to start coming after you for collections. So remember, although you pay it down to zero, keep maintenance on this card. Check the balance at least once a month and make sure it's still zero and not negative. Because remember, that's going to come back to haunt you.
We had that happen recently where we had a client and the client was in the process of getting a mortgage. And they had a credit card and they did not put aside money into the bank to cover that particular credit card.
It's a secured credit card.
But actually the credit card had a zero balance. So, hey, and any normal person's thinking, well, why put money into my checking account if I have a zero balance? I don't have to worry about that bill. What happened was the annual fee popped up. Now, the annual fee is a fee that the credit card charges every year. So, unbeknownst to the client, the annual fee of $50 popped into the picture. The credit card company goes into the bank to get the $50. There's no $50 there, so now they charge her a late fee.
Oh, yes.
For not paying the $50.
How about this? Now a higher interest rate too. She doesn't
and
pay
a higher interest rate. So now she's got it's almost like a bounce check.
Yeah, right.
Because the credit card company, which was supposed to improve her credit, now
how about that?
instead of improving the
doing
credit,
the exact opposite.
It does the opposite of saying, "Hey, you missed a payment." And she's saying, and arguing with them, "Well, I don't owe you any money. I don't have any payment." And I said, "Well, okay, show me the statement." The statement says zero balance, which there was a zero balance because there was nothing owed on the credit card. However, what about the annual fee that was owed? So therefore, now it shows on the credit report. So now we're in the process of figuring, well, how do we get this? How do we straighten this out? Because technically, there was $50 that was owed to the credit card company.
And I was going to say, make sure if you are opening a credit card or have one, make sure you read the fine print. Because I'll say not every credit card has an annual fee, but some do. And it's for their maintenance, keeping the website up, keeping everything paperless, that's what they like to do. And usually it's around between $39 and $50. Remember, that's every year from the start date of when you got that credit line. So make sure you keep an eye on that because you don't want to have all these cards, even though they have zero balances, you'll owe the company and they'll put you into collections.
So this is some of the things that and it's an honest mistake.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't blame the client, but you got to read the fine print. And like my son said, some cards may not even have an annual fee. So you get thrown off guard. Yep. Which ones do, which ones don't. Keeping your credit up is work. It's work. Even I myself, I got to have a chart. What's coming out of my checking account every month? What bills do I have? What's coming out of my draft? Which one's coming out of the checking account? How much money do I have to put in for this account? Is the car payment coming out of there? Is the insurance coming out of there? Are all of my subscriptions to the magazines, are they coming out of here? Is this coming out of here? And they're all coming out at different dates.
Exactly.
So something's coming out this date, something's coming. So you always got to have enough money in there as a buffer to find out what's coming out on a monthly basis. Now, a good way to look at this and to help you, once you get your checking account statement every month, look at that statement and get a highlighter and highlight which items other than the checks and the debits are coming out automatically. So, and then add at the bottom the total amount. So if you got 8 deductions and they total, let's say, $600, then at least you got to keep a balance of $600 or $700, I'd say $700, because every single month those items are going to be popping out of there.
Exactly. And also when it comes to credit cards, just make sure, remember, don't open up credit cards to pay off other credit cards. Make sure you handle the debt you have currently right now. And like me and my father said an episode or two ago, make sure you go back and see. We gave you some steps on how to tackle the debt as far as don't start with the largest balance. Be careful of these companies that want to help you with your credit, because what they're going to do is they're going to charge you a fee every month to do something that you could do actually for free. Look on YouTube, learn how to write a letter to the TransUnion, how to get something written off for you in credit card, because there might be mistakes on there, some things that you didn't buy that you're not liable to be owed for. But if it's on your report, who's going to dispute it if not you?
You can also subscribe to, like I know Experian, they have a credit check monitor.
Yes.
Where every month, anything out of the ordinary that happens to your credit, they'll let you know about.
Yes.
Maybe there's someone inquired about your credit. It's a hard pull. You'll get a notification. Maybe it's something where your credit score dropped down. Something that affects your credit. Whatever affects your credit, they'll send you an email saying this is affecting your credit or will affect your credit. So you're aware as to what's happening so that you can jump on it before. Most things happen and on your credit after 30 days or 60 days. So if you know right away, now that gives you a chance to monitor it and get in there and sort of find out what's going on.
Yeah, most places when you have a delinquent, let's say a cable bill or something like that, or maybe a student loan payment you miss, usually it takes about 60 days to get on your credit. They give you a chance. What the companies do is they charge you a late fee. They love when you get charged a late fee.
That's how they make their money.
That's how they make their ends meet, I'll say. But remember, after 60 days, you haven't paid the late fee or the original debt. Now you have to pay both, and it's going to be in collections. Remember, when they sell that to the collections, they're selling it for pennies on the dollar. They're making what they can. Now, when the collections companies come after you, which they will, I mean, what's the saying? If you think you're alone, don't pay your bills for a month. You won't be lonely anymore. People will be calling you every 5 minutes. Now, when they call you, and let's say you do settle with the collections company, make sure you check your credit reports. Remember, once they get their money, they're satisfied. They may not do their due diligence. They may not tell TransUnion or Experian that, oh, the debt is paid, wipe it off their credit. So you have to be really responsible when it comes to paying your debt back.
One other thing you just said, once you pay off that bill and you settle, you can settle. Like if you owe somebody, let's say, $300, and they'll say, okay, we'll settle that for $75. You give them $75, now they don't come after you anymore, and they show that it was paid.
Yep.
But one of the things I did learn from that seminar that we just went to is the individual said, if you're going to settle, make sure you get it in writing.
Yes.
And make sure when you pay it off with maybe a cashier's check,
a
money order, so that you send in the check. Because what he had said was that, let's say you owe them, let's say $100. Say you owe them a total of $600. And now they're going to settle that for $150. So you get the nice friendly call, hi, we're going to let you settle that for $150. So you say, oh, okay, great. And they say, give us your debit card, give us your checking account number so that we can deduct it. And that way it'll be faster than you having to go get a check.
Oh, yeah, they make it
convenient. They're friendly as can be, they're happy, they're your best friend. So now you go ahead and you give them your bank information, and they go ahead and they take out the $150. And now what happens is a week later, you've got, let's say, $1,000 in there, you're paying your rent, you're gonna pay your car note, and you go back the next day, the money's gone. You're like, what happened? What happened was the creditor went back in and got the other $1,500 you owed them, because now you gave them all your information.
Well, what they do is they keep your information on file, and that means throughout your credit history, let's say if you're late on one bill, it means the chances are you might be late on another bill. So what they're going to do is they're going to save your debit card information, and let's say another collections comes by with your name and information, they'll give you a call, and they'll have your information already on file. They'll just pay it, because remember, they have your debit card number, which means they have access to your money. So always send like a check, a cashier's check, or a money order for the exact amount that you agreed to in writing with the creditor.
In writing.
In writing.
Because like he said, when you call back, that person you spoke to, oh, that person who's John, he no longer works here. We don't know what he said. In other words, he shouldn't have told you. If he did say that, if he did, he shouldn't have told you that. You got wrong information.
Exactly.
But, we want to thank you because we got our money now.
Exactly. How about that? And then they might not even told us, the credit unions, that they paid it. So you want to make sure you do your due diligence, be very careful.
Exactly. That's another thing, too. The creditor gets the money many times. Here's what happens. A lot of times things still stay on your credit report. Why do they stay on your credit report? Because even though you may pay the creditor off, it's still on your credit report because
Yes.
the person you paid never reported it to the other person that
How
it
about
got
they
paid.
took the money and ran?
They took the money and they said, hey, they figured like this: you owed me $200, so I got $200. Now, for me to take the secretary and write out a letter, send you a copy, notify the credit, that's going to cost me another $20. You know what? I'm not doing any of that stuff. So therefore, I got $200. I'm going to leave it the way it is. So now you got to go and write a letter to the credit bureau saying,
Yep.
hey, I paid that bill. So now they've got to call the creditor and say, was that bill paid? And the creditor says yes. So then the credit bureau takes it off. So when you're fixing your credit, it takes some work, is what we're saying. Don't just
Yes.
assume everything is going to be so smooth and easy. And it is smooth and easy as long as you do it the right way.
I'll say as long as you do it the right way and follow the right steps. And just be careful of these ads you see online. You might say credit help, credit repair. They prey on people who don't, I'll say, have the knowledge on how to fix it themselves. I mean, go on YouTube University. That's one of my favorite places to go. And just type in how to repair credit, how to write a letter to TransUnion. Remember, on their websites, they have the forms right there. Because honestly, that's what a lot of these companies do. And hey, if you're a real good entrepreneur, why not, once you help yourself do your credit, help other people. You can start a business doing that where people are clueless when it comes to credit. That's why we're helping people right now. But it's very lucrative, helping people increase their score by 100 points. They'll love you for life and give you all kinds of referrals.
So remember, one of the things we want you to do, and going forward, your credit report is affecting everything that you do.
Yes.
Everything that you do. And one of the new models he was saying also is they're going to give people the opportunity to put unconventional credit items onto your credit report. Like we were at this seminar and one of the women there asked, well, how come when we pay our rent, how come that's
Electric
not
bills,
used on your
utilities.
credit report? So there is a vehicle that you can do that as far as notifying the creditor and having your landlord certify that the payments were made, because you should be able to put your rental payment there, your light bill, your gas bill, your car payment will automatically goes on there, but your car insurance, car insurance in some cases costs more than the car payment.
Exactly.
So all of these other bills that you're paying, it's all credit.
Now remember, also, these new innovative ways to measure somebody's credit, the banks are still lagging behind. They're still using the traditional ways as far as your FICO score and what makes up those three numbers right there. But the seminar I went to said good news. As we approach next year, 2024, 2025, what we're going to see is the banks are going to start expanding the way they measure credit because they're going to have to. The traditional ways is actually keeping a whole generation of people from being homeowners. So they're going to expand this in more creative ways, like my father said, with the rents, the subscriptions you may have, your car insurance. They're going to play a factor into your FICO score, and we're going to see more people have access to credit who normally wouldn't have access to credit.
Even the student loans, they will be factoring in how can we help all of these people with student loans, because there's a whole generation of people that have student loans and it's affected their ability to purchase a home, to go into business, to pay back their bills and debt. So they're looking at all these new things that they can do that can help people: medical bills, student loans, regular credit. So if you've in the past been trying to build up your credit, stick with it and look at all of these new things that are coming down the pike that are going to help you. But you have to make yourself aware of what the changes are going to be.
Exactly.
Even if and even the mortgage person said, look even if you're like, when should you start fixing your credit? Remember he said tomorrow.
No,
right
he
now.
He said now.
Now.
Don't wait till tomorrow because you might forget. Don't wait till later that night. Right now, as far as that seminar, you had us write down the website and everything. Like, go on YouTube, look for credit repair. I mean, it's something that is going to affect everything you do in life, from buying a house, buying a car. Financing in general is becoming a very hot topic around.
So get started now.
Exactly.
It's like people come to me and say, when should I get started to buy a house? I said, now. In other words, even if you're not ready, start figuring out how much money you're going to need to put aside. One other thing too is that if you're a first-time home buyer, I encourage everyone out there, save as much money as you can.
Oh yes.
In other words, realize this. A lot of times people come to me, and even today it happened. They said, well, I'm a first-time home buyer. I get all the, what do you have? And I said, well, you look at it this way. When everything is competitive and there's a lot of competition, the seller has 5 offers. You're a first-time home buyer. You have very little money. These people have a lot of money they're putting down, and they're not first-time home buyers. The seller is gravitating towards the people with the money. So even though you're a first-time home buyer, save as much money as you can, because what happens in many, it's like driving a car. When you buy a car and you are just starting out, when you were 18 or 21, you go to the insurance company. How much does the insurance company charge you? 3 times as much as the guy. First thing they say is, okay, this guy over here's got 5 years of experience. Or when you hit 21 or 25, your rates go down because now you got experience.
Exactly.
So in the case like that, compare that to being a first-time home buyer. The first-time home buyer is more of a risk to the bank. So the bank's actually going to scrutinize you more and may even charge you more, because the chance of you being able to keep that mortgage is going to be harder than the experienced one. So just because you're first time, don't expect the bank to fall all over on you just because you just starting out. One of the things they're concerned about too is, what if the house needs work? What if there's repairs? What if there's maintenance? What if the furnace kicks off? What if the plumbing goes? You're telling the bank, I'm broke, I don't have any money.
Exactly.
And they're saying, well, you should have some money. So all I'm saying is, yes, there's programs out there, but in the meantime, don't just spend all your money and say, well, I'm going to rely on them giving me some free money.
Well, I was going to say, I tell people free money is I'll say free money is not fast, it's slow. But as far as if you use these programs, remember, that's going to be more time adding to the buying process. So remember, you got that pre-approval from the bank. It says you have 60 days to find a house. Let's say you find a house on day 30. Now you have 30 days to close. Before, you have to go back to your mortgage person. They have to rerun your credit. Do you still have that same job? I hope you kept the job. You have the same job still, because remember, the interest rate might have gone up in those 60 days. And let's say the house that you wanted to buy was $300,000. You're approved for $310,000, but those 30 days go by. Now you're approved for $290,000. So now you can't afford the house. Or make sure, if you're going to use programs, make sure that you learn them inside and out. But like my father says, save the money up. Remember, if you go conventional, you can save a lot more time than using the programs.
And one warning, if you are looking to buy a house, the bank checks your credit the day before you close. They don't give you that pre-approval. You don't go look for the house, and then all of a sudden they forget everything. The day before you sign the paperwork, they are going to check your credit again. So anything you do, make sure you don't do anything to mess anything up until that day is closed. Very important.
Very important.
So
we're going to continue this series as far as the credit and everything. But like I said, go back in our previous episodes, and if you want to learn more, tune in every week.
And go to our website, tristaterealtyct.com.
Yes.
Till next week, God bless.
Amen.